The bell's ringing, so it must be like 6 o'clock on the dot. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. Our public hearing schedule will begin shortly. Before that, however, we have a couple sets of minutes to awaiting our action this evening. Our January minutes and our February minutes both require action, and we'll take them one at a time. Minutes have been distributed in advance to the commission members. And looking first at the January 21st minutes, is there a motion for action on those minutes?
Yes, I move approval of the minutes for January 21st, 2025, with one correction. The correction is on page 6, item 2 of the 2010-25 packet, and it is regarding the special use permit for Gifford and Wyoming Street. So the paragraph that should replace the existing paragraph I have submitted to the members of the commission for inclusion. Would you like me to read it into the record, or is the...
I don't think that's necessary. We have a
Okay.
printed copy. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion before us for the January 21 minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? One abstention isn't as much as I was not at that meeting. So those minutes are approved. We move to our February 10th minutes. Is there a motion for action on those?
Move approval of the minutes for 2/10/25 CPC meeting.
Do again, a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The February 10th minutes are also approved. And now we can move into our old business first before we handle our new business.
Yes, good evening. We have one item that's not on the original public notice. This is an item that came up earlier this afternoon at the Common Council study session before their regular vote at 1 p.m. earlier this afternoon. It's in regards to a previously discussed special use permit application for Tommy's Diner at 62325 Wolf Street, special permit SP-24-30. The council is recommending an amendment to one of the specific conditions of approval, which is item number 5 in the resolution. They would like us to amend that to include Wolf Street as one of the streets, to not include customer right-of-way illegal parking. So we're hoping the commission can deliberate on adding that amendment, and we can get it back to council next session in 2 weeks.
Just have a question for council. Mr. Chairman, if that's all right, a question for council.
Please, yes.
So do we need then to reopen our original motion to amend the condition?
Just a new motion that supersedes the old
allowed
one.
to?
New motion to supersede the
Yeah, I
old
think you
motion.
should,
New motion to supersede.
That's a lot cleaner, I think.
Right.
Thanks for asking.
We'll have another volley. They'll come back and say, well,
So with that clarification, any discussion on the content of the recommended additional condition?
I mean, the addition of that content is consistent with what our conversation was. It's unfortunate we didn't add it at the meeting originally, but it is consistent of the conversation, so I certainly would be in favor of adding it. I'm not sure exactly how we need to frame the motion, though, if we're doing a new motion here. I mean, we already did seeker. We did the motion on the recommendation of the Common Council, so we just need to do a new motion on recommendation to the Common
a
Council?
motion to clarify the
Okay.
terms and conditions
Right.
of the approval.
Anyone like to
Could
move
add-
that?
To clarify by adding Wolf Street to the resolution.
Right.
Condition 5.
all right, so this is a motion to amend condition 5 seeing that the SP 2430, that there's been a request for clarification. This is a motion to amend to clarify condition 5, keeping everything else as we agreed on the record and voted on at our last meeting.
Sounds like a good motion. I'll second.
Discussion on that motion. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. And that amended resolution has passed. We have an additional item of old business as well.
Yes, next up is another special use permit, SP-25-01. This is the East Vat Street Convenience Store project at 2000 East Vat in the MX2 zone district. This was heard on the 2/10/25 City Planning Commission meeting. We advised the applicant that they needed to work with and respond to the Syracuse Police Department crime prevention through environmental design assessment. After that was completed, the public comment period is still open, and the Planning Commission has not deliberated on the seeker for the project. So the applicant has reached out to us regarding the SEPTED recommendations for the security improvements on the property, and all of that is included in the packet.
Thank you for the update. Comments initially from the commission members on the status of this?
Is the applicant present?
Not sure. Doesn't appear so.
We have the applicant's responses to the SEPTED recommendations. I think most of them were accepted, maybe a little
I have a Jake question when we can
a
get to it.
little ambiguous in terms of the glass door. There was some reluctance about that. I'm not quite sure where the applicant landed finally on that point.
So Jake, that was going to be my question. I appreciate his concern that the glass has been shattered multiple times, multiple days after install. So I'm asking, I think, for you and your team to work with him on a solution that will hopefully clarify the security issue for SEPTED, maybe a glass gated door or something similar, or half plexi and the bottom's a solution that works for all the parties. There's certainly no sense in having him to continue to install glass doors that are destroyed.
Sure. Maybe the important factor is not so much a glass door, but a door with transparent material.
Yeah. The ability to see.
Okay.
And I would just clarify for the record, the hours will be 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Is that correct? We're all in agreement on that? Which is in the application, I believe.
8 till 9?
Yeah. Am I right?
Right, although we state in the conditions that that's subject to the approval of the Common Council,
Right.
which may change those.
Obviously. Yep.
I have a question about item 9 and the conditions. The item indicates the applicant shall submit photographic evidence of the completed improvements to the Office Zoning Administrator 30 days after the special approval. I'm just wondering about the logistics of that clause, because it's hard to tell when it would go to the Common Council, and it may or may not go to the Common Council within that 30-day period. So I'm just wondering how this particular provision impacts the processing of the applications that moves from the Planning Commission to the Common Council.
Commissioner Lentz, can you just clarify? So your formal approval or completion, or formal approval of the special use permit doesn't happen unless the council signs off. So I don't,
I understand.
yeah, so I thought you were saying council might not hear it by that 30-day mark.
Or they might. So if they heard it before that 30-day period ends, they might not have the documentation that the necessary work has been completed.
Wouldn't the 30-day clock start after council approval?
That's what I was saying. Sorry.
But it says after CPC.
30 days of the approval of the special use permit. I mean, essentially what we're looking for.
That approval is referring to the common council approval. Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure, maybe it would be good if that was in there for future reference, just to be clear to
We could
everybody.
add that. I mean, the way we look at it is this is the recommending body and the decision maker is the council, and that's what the code states, but we can spell it out that way.
I mean, just it
just
might
so
be
it's
clear,
clear.
it might be confusing for other people too.
Sure.
So could be some benefit in making that clearer in the future.
Understood.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments from the commission members on this application?
I'm sorry. I was just reading.
The applicant is supposedly almost here, minutes away.
Okay.
Could we hold this and move on to another item?
I'm thinking so.
And return to it later?
Right, because we have several more things to do with this in terms of public comment, seeker, and so on. So we'll put a pause on this and delve into our new business.
First up under new business is a re-subdivision R-25-01 at 205 Hubble Ave. Owner applicant is the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation. This is in the R2 zone district.
Hello, thank you. I'm Caitlin Wright with the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation, 1941 South Salina Street. We are proposing to split this lot in half, creating two 39-foot, 9-inch wide parcels. Each would have a single-family home built on it. Are there questions from the commission?
Just curious, Caitlin, about the status of the development process, because the application seems to indicate that it's going to be a single developer that does both houses, and we have plans for one house, so it's going to be the same in both. Is that correct?
In fact, the developer is here, and he's probably better suited to answer that question, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Whoever can answer it.
Thanks. Hi, Jim Williams. I live at 128 Hastings Place, so I'm proposing to build the two houses.
Okay.
So one will have the second floor built out and have a shed dormer on it. The other one's going to be a house without the dormer.
Right.
But it's being set up so if in the midst of construction somebody wants to add the second floor area that's shown on the drawings, we can do that. And I'll amend any permit that's required for that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
Anything else?
That's the question I had.
Okay. And the lot is 5,120 square feet. So it's, whatever we can do. I'd like to just move along.
I also just want to note that there is some variation planned for the two facades, so they won't look like identical twins. Thank you.
Any further questions from the commission members? If not, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, your address, and your comments. I don't see anyone rising to speak, so we will close the public comment on this and turn to our seeker review.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 1 prepared by the applicant and contained in your packet?
Yes.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 2 prepared by staff and contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this proposed action will have a moderate to large impact under seeker?
No.
Okay, hearing none, we recommend that you move to make a negative declaration under seeker and prepare the Part 3 EAF accordingly.
Thank you. Is there such a motion for the seeker review?
I move to make a negative seeker declaration.
Second.
And discussion on this motion? There's no discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved, and we may now turn to action for R2501, the re-subdivision on Hubble.
I make a motion to approve R-25-01 as presented with the affirmative recommendation to the Common Council, and beyond the standard general conditions, 2 special conditions, one related to the filing of the application in the county clerk's office, and the other is related to necessary permits for driveways, et cetera, in future construction.
Can we edit that? I believe you mentioned recommendation of the Common Council in the beginning of that, which,
You did.
okay.
Yes.
I did. I'm
Is
sorry.
this-
It said an affirmative recommendation, affirmative action from the, recommendation for affirmative action from the Common Council.
If this is a
It's a
re-subdivision?
resub, right?
Yeah.
We move from the store to the resale.
I'm sorry. Thank you for the clarification.
But the rest of it we do want.
Yeah.
There'll be a slightly shorter
Too
resolution.
many changes in our agenda here.
And based on your comment, I will second it with a friendly amendment to remove the recommendation to the Common Council.
Thank you, both, all three of you. Discussion on this motion now before us for the Hubble Ave re-subdivision. And if there's no discussion, then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? R 2501 is approved. And before we move either forward or backward on the agenda, it occurs to me I neglected to offer a little guidance for anyone here this evening who might be new to our process for public comment. And that is, as each application is announced, we ask that the applicant come forward and provide a brief summary at the podium, first providing their name and address for the record, and then a short summary of the application involved. And then after commission members might have questions, we ask that members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to come forward to do that, providing their name, their address, and then a brief summary of their comments. Likewise, we then offer an opportunity for those who wish to speak against the application to come forward and do the same. Provide name, address, and a short summary of your comments, hoping in either case, for or against, you're holding your comments to about 3 minutes, thereabouts. So I neglected to outline that earlier, so if anyone is here for the first time and wishes to speak on one of these applications, please don't be intimidated. The rules are very simple, and we want your input. So with that, we can return to the agenda, either continue forward with new business, or if our other applicant has arrived, we can go backwards in the agenda and cover that.
Yes, the applicant just walked in. Mr. Amar Al-Ziadi. Can you approach the microphone, please?
Sorry for being late. I had to break my fast. Great.
No problem. We did one item before you arrived, so we're going to jump back to you. The Planning Commission was discussing the police department's crime prevention evaluation, and it was noted that seems that you agree to most of the conditions or recommendations, and we were discussing the door prior to your arrival. That was the summary of the latest.
I was trying to explain the door part is I don't think it's gonna benefit crime prevention in the community because we just want to be safer and for the employees and customers in there. And it will get broken into if it's a glass door because it has happened in the past.
I guess my only question would be, it's been broken while business was open, so the steel gate door on the outside was also, must have been unopened for this to be broken. Can you clarify?
No, it wasn't broken. It wasn't broken. I mean, it broke into a different business that wasn't secure. Then they got into that business, then the other business. But before the gate was there, I was told that it was broken into before again. So I haven't been there that long.
So the SEPTED recommendation is that if you had a glass door there, that would increase visibility for purposes of surveillance. Understand the concern about the glass door being broken, but if it's been broken at night, when was it broken at night when the steel cage was not there, or during the day when it was open? Because if it's a matter of you're concerned about the glass door being broken during the day, that shouldn't be a problem if the store is occupied. And if you have the grate on it at night, that should presumably prevent it from being broken, if that would be a possibility that you could consider.
Right. I understand. I see what you're coming from.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the issue with the windows, because the windows are pretty high, and so that's not going to increase a lot of visibility anyway. But the door could be a big issue. If you could see to put in a glass door in there with a steel grate in front of it.
Okay. No problem. I agree.
Is there a camera on the door?
His cameras already there, but I've secured more cameras all around.
Okay.
I'm complying with everything. They're
Right.
working on the lights, the gate. It's,
I saw that, which is good, very
thank you.
good.
Thank you, man.
I would suggest at some point a camera directly on the door might
Absolutely.
help you.
Sure.
Oh, there's a camera right now directly facing the door.
There is?
On,
Okay.
on each side.
Okay.
Say, we do
questions?
appreciate your responses to the SEPTED report. You know, and it's a very useful tool, we find, to bring the police into the conversation and to help both you and us figure out what's the best thing for that property.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm willing to comply with everything. Even they can even have access to security cameras, like whatever makes them more safer.
Well, thanks for
Thank you,
being
George.
responsive to those recommendations. No further questions?
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll now open public comment and ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application to come to the podium, provide their name, their address, and their comments. See no one rising to speak. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward to provide your name, address, and then your comments. You're welcome to sit down now if you
Okay,
wish.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no one rising to speak either for or against, so we will close public comment on this application and turn our attention to our next step, which is the seeker review.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 1 prepared by the applicant and contained in your packet?
Yes.
Yes.
And is everyone familiar with the EAF Part 2 prepared by staff and also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this proposed action will have a moderate to large impact under seeker?
No.
No.
Having determined there will be no moderate to large impacts under seeker, we recommend that the commission move to make a negative declaration under seeker and prepare the Part 3 EAF accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move to make a negative seeker declaration.
Second?
Discussion on the seeker motion. there's none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. And now, is there a motion on SP 2501, the special use permit for the 2000 block of East Fayette Street, that would go as a recommendation to the council?
I move approval of SP-25-01 as presented with recommendation to the Common Council for affirmative action, and in addition to the general requirements and conditions, there are 9 special conditions listed on pages 23 and 24 of the packet that should be added to the resolution, which includes all of the recommendations of the SEPTED report.
Thank you.
Correction, I'm seeing 12.
No neon sign?
What's that?
I'm sorry, correction.
You said 9 specific conditions of approval?
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant 12.
I guess I'm on my game tonight.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
are.
Sorry.
You're right there.
For some reason, I was
People
looking
are
at the
paying
number 9
attention.
because I had it highlighted.
We round
Good
down
job,
to the
Jake.
nearest 9. Thank you, and thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you both. Is there discussion on the motion now before us for the East Fayette Street special use permit? No? Good. In that case, all in favor of this motion, please indicate by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? So this recommendation will now move to the Common Council for final disposition. And we continue further now on our return to our new business agenda.
Next up is a re-subdivision R-25-02 for 2410 South Ave and 2426. The city of Syracuse is the applicant. This is in the R1 zone district.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Michael Lehman. I'm with the City of Syracuse, 233 East Washington Street. Request tonight is regarding a re-subdivision of the parcels 2410 and 26 South Avenue. This location, you'll see Lot A is the former Garzone's restaurant. In 2014, the city took over the property at that address for tax delinquency. Ever since it's been sitting there vacant, the city is interested in selling the land for residential redevelopment purposes. Upon approval, we will issue a request for proposals for residential developments of Lot A. The purpose of the re-subdivision was to set aside a portion that's developable. What will be Lot B, there's green infrastructure, and the land can't be tampered with, basically. Are there any questions?
Yeah, could you explain that a little bit more in terms of Lot B? Because I've been trying to make sense out of these lines in the drawings. So Lot B does not include, so we're carving out 2 lots for residential development.
Only Lot A would be
Only Lot A.
available for residential developments.
Okay, so Lot B, does that also extend out to South Ave?
It does at the southeast corner of the parcel.
Okay,
And there you see there's a trapezoidal parcel in between Lot A and the southeast portion of Lot B. That's owned privately.
and Lot C is what?
Lot C is also owned by the city, and that, again, is just part of the green infrastructure. The only reason it was included on the re-subdivision is because we couldn't find a legal description of the property when the city acquired it decades ago. So the surveyor asked that we include that as part of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Further questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there individuals
No, I just, someone had a question, so.
on this application? Why don't you come to the microphone, please?
Walker. I'm at 121 Armstrong Place. I live down my backyard is next to this place where they want to develop. And I had problems with this place years ago. I had to move out of my house because they were doing some type of dumping and digging up there, and it flooded my house for years. I had water going through the house. My backyard was totally submerged, and it was from them digging. So what's to say that this development isn't going to cause me those problems again?
So we're going to put a pause on that. I'm first going to ask you if you would give your name and address for the record.
Lenora Walker, 121 Armstrong Place.
Okay, thank you. I was about to ask for people who wanted to speak either in favor of the application or against. Sounds like you're in the second category. And so we'll do that first, those who want to speak against.
Okay.
We'll then ask people who want to speak in favor of it. And then, when those two groups of people have finished speaking, we'll give the applicant an opportunity to address your concern expressed in opposition. Does that sound reasonable?
I have just a quick question for you, if you don't mind. It stopped, there is no flooding because nobody's digging, I'm presuming?
Right.
Is that
And
correct?
the city did put in a drain there, so you don't get it as bad. But the cause of it was when they were digging, and seems like it's going to be a bigger development, and I'm saying, is that going to cause problems? I mean, I had to move out of my house. The city tried to take it because I'm paying for two different places, and we never got anything for the problem it caused. They took the building. We couldn't even sue our zones for our damages or anything. And it's like, what's going to happen when they start digging again?
And I'll ask Michael, but what's approximately the elevation difference, do you think, between Garzone's and your house?
My backyard comes out and then it goes, it's sort of up the hill. I
10
can't.
feet? You don't know,
No,
you're
it's
not,
longer than 10 feet. No,
Okay.
I'm not good.
okay, thanks.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium, give us your name and address, and then your comments. Good evening.
Heather Green, 302 Mitchell. I have the same concern she does. I think that it's hard to say that there's going to be no flooding. I mean, different neighborhood, but my mother lives in Camillus. They had a new redevelopment above her that they said would not affect her. My mother has lived in her house since I was 10 months old, and her basement flooded as soon as the drainage just wasn't done correctly. So my backyard borders Lot C. So I actually on the corner of Princeton Ave, which is not really a street. And then it's that corner house. So my concerns obviously are flooding because, again, I don't know how many feet it is, but I feel like any time that you dig and change, the land, there's a chance that you can flood. And it does run downhill from where Garzone's is. And of course, my other concern is just, I guess the continuity of the neighborhood. It does say that, it's not going to increase traffic, but anytime you redevelop land, it's going to increase traffic. Also, what are they planning on doing? Is it residential housing? Is it an apartment complex? Because what's that going to do for our property values? So, those are my concerns. I just want to know, a little bit more about what they're planning.
Thank you.
Staff would just like to give the board and attendees and people watching some information. So this is just a re-subdivision, which is, lot line adjustments. This used to be a bar or cafe known as Garzone's for a long time. This isn't an R1 zone district, and someone would not be able to just reopen a commercial establishment like that. Without a variance, it'd be the only path. So it'd be extremely difficult that you would see any other development other than somebody trying to just make this into a single-family home, which, I can't predict the future, but I can't imagine there'd be much excavation or digging on the site. but to my understanding, assessment's just looking to market the property so we can try to get somebody to purchase it and do something with that structure. It's been vacant for a long time now.
Yeah, I guess my question is, since it is a re-subdivision, and it doesn't involve any permits for construction or any such thing, it seems to me the issues that are raised, which are clearly legitimate issues, are not issues for the re-subdivision process, but issues for construction permits when we get to that time for approval of the project, whether it's a minor or a major site plan review, et cetera. Is that?
That would seem accurate, other than, again, since this is it's in an R1 district, really all anybody can do is make it a single-family home.
Right.
Now, somebody could choose to demolish the structure and, build a new single-family home. But even with that, there'd be certain requirements for site work and stormwater, runoff, and a SWIP would be required. But they could also take the structure as is and try to rehab it. So that's another potential path forward.
Right.
But
Not for commercial use.
no,
without a
in an
variance.
R1 district, I think it'd be highly unlikely that we would see. I don't know that anybody could meet the criteria to get a variance for a business here. Not to speak for our council, but there's a lot of really nice property up that way that are residential homes. So I don't know that they could really meet the criteria saying they couldn't get a return on having a single-family home.
We would have to show that they can't get a return, but also that it's not self-created. If they bought it.
Right.
They're buying it subject to whatever the zoning restrictions are.
So I guess just, I'm hearing the same public comment that the commission is, and this is just a lot line adjustment. And as it stands, this is no different than just somebody who has an occupied single-family house that's, although it's vacant, I guess that's the difference. But that's all that can go here, short of a variance, which again would be extremely difficult, if not nearly impossible to get.
Right.
Can you review, Jake, for the purposes of the audience, the process, if the re-subdivision is granted and the city determines that they want to let an RFP for a single-family home to be built there, I'm using that as an example, and I'm one of the neighbors to the property, will I be notified that that process is in place?
I doubt that the neighbors would be notified of the issuance of an RFP.
Yeah, no.
Do you mean when they applied to do work after that?
Or you grant me permission to build my single-family house there?
Yeah, that would not trigger anything to this board. So it would just be a permit. The zoning staff would have to review it, but it would really be for site work, drainage, and then the building code, construction of the home.
Yeah, so I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is I don't understand any conditions that we could add to a re-subdivision that would address the problem. They would have to come later. If we could, I'd certainly be happy to, but I don't understand that we have the jurisdiction to add any conditions related to potential future development that may or may not happen.
As it sits, I think it's pretty well restricted as is to only be residential use in the future. I also can't think of something that we could tag on to that. I don't know.
On the resub, I agree. Yeah.
Thank you for providing that context. I think that's helpful, or helpful for me at least. I will ask again if there's anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application to come forward to do that, to the podium in the middle of the room. Well, I'm about to offer an opportunity to people who might want to speak in favor of it, if there are any such folks in the room. And then finally, ask the applicant to return and perhaps address some of the, at his option, address comments made in opposition, yours and the other speaker's comments.
Yes.
So, anyone else to speak in opposition? I don't see anyone rising to do that. So does anyone wish to speak in favor of the application? If so, come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. I don't see anyone rising to speak under that category. So as the applicant, you have the opportunity to address some of the things offered in opposition and perhaps to clarify what might happen next beyond just the simple subdivision that's before us tonight.
Thank you. Michael Lehman again with the City of Syracuse. So Lot B, if this re-subdivision does occur, is not buildable because of the green infrastructure that exists there now. That was an arrangement with the city and the county in the late 2010s. So nothing can be built there. The reason for this re-subdivision is to create a portion that is still usable, right? Because right now it's just sitting there. Parks is maintaining it, but it's a decrepit building. It's not on the tax rolls. It's providing no benefit to the community. If we could allow this re-subdivision, the portion that is developable, we could convert into more housing. Right? And as Deputy Commissioner Deshaw explained, it is R1, so the RFP, and I'll explain that process briefly in a second, would indicate that any use needs to be consistent with the zoning ordinance. It had been a commercial property that doesn't survive the conveyance. It really could only be used for housing now, and it couldn't be developed any farther than that north-south line between lots A and B. Yeah, go over there. This is privately owned. So by Anthony Ludo, this B and A are the cities and would remain the cities. Yes, Lot A. You can see there's a structure kind of in the middle of it there. That indicates the building that still remains there. Nope. So this just the Lot A section. Lot B and everything farther west wouldn't be touched. Oh, we're not. What we'd do is we would publish and advertise a request for proposals to developers who might have interest in using this portion of land for residential development.
How many houses can you build on it, Jake?
We just open it up to ideas for development. It's about an acre and a quarter, about an acre and a half, 1.6. So proposers would send plans to the city, would have a request for proposals committee, which usually has someone from assessment, someone from engineering, someone from water department. So we would be covering a lot of the topics that you just brought up as concerns. No, I'm not. No. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As I think I overheard one of our city attorneys mention that in the conveyance, if we do decide developer C can purchase this, in the conveyance document, we can include restrictive covenants such as you can't build 50 feet from the northern border, something like that, hypothetically. So if that's a concern, and this will be discussed several times with the many people before any development occurs, it needs to come before this board again. Common Council would have to approve it. I've had many conversations with Councilor Majoke about this this project, this concept. He lives just a couple blocks away. Yeah. Yep. What I can say is, all we're asking it to do tonight is just basically reline the parcels, contemplating future development. It might not happen, ideally it does, and whatever version comes about, there'll be public discussion before it happens. So you'll have the opportunity to speak in favor or opposition of whatever particular project or projects come up.
Michael?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Just to be clear, no,
They can't have.
the only thing that can be added here is a single-family house. Or somebody can rehab this, somebody can rehab the current structure and make it a single-family home, or they can demolish it and build a new single-family home. Or, I mean, townhouses would be allowed too, but those are single-family dwelling units. But yes, that's all that is allowed. Well,
Michael, can I suggest, Jake, excuse me, that we start with you sharing your contact information with the two neighbors who
Yes.
abut the property, who have the drainage concerns, and perhaps then they can see the RFP, they will be aware of the timeline as you move forward, and be able to share their additional comments directly.
Yes.
Should there,
Also through their counselor.
yeah, should there be any additional concerns. We have no way of knowing tonight, this body, who will be interested and what will happen. As Lenore said, if it's somebody if I come and want to rehab Garzone's, well, that's a good thing, maybe, and everybody would be fine. So until that time, till you actually have clarification as to who's interested, I think if you all can keep in touch, it would go a long way towards all of the discussion that will happen in the future, if you don't object.
I don't object. I'm happy to share my contact information, and when the request for proposals is published, assuming it gets to that point, it's public information. It'll be on the syr.gov website, and I can let you know as soon as it goes up if you want to take a look at it. Anybody can. That doesn't just have to be potential applicants. Anyone can have a look at it, and they'll be.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
So we'll close public comment on this, turn our attention to our seeker review.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 1 prepared by the applicant and contained in your packet?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the EAF Part 2 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this proposed action will have a moderate to large impact under seeker?
No.
Okay, having determined there will be no moderate to large impact, we recommend that the commission make a negative declaration under seeker and to complete the Part 3 EAF accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move making a negative seeker declaration.
Thank you both. Discussion on the seeker motion before us. If there's no discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved, and we may now consider the subdivision R2502 as outlined earlier this evening.
Move approval of R-25-02 with one special condition, that being that the deed needs to be recorded in the county clerk's office within 32 days of approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on this motion for R2502. There's no discussion, then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? That is approved for R2502. We move to our next new business item.
Don't let him leave. All right, there he goes. Good. Okay, sorry. Oh, Jake's checking something.
Commissioner Lentz, did you mean 62 days or 32 days?
What did I say?
Your motion was for 32, but by
I'm
state
sorry.
law, they have 62.
I'm sorry. It's it's the night, right?
You too.
Jake
I
is
don't
on
know,
you.
there's something going in the air.
Yes, something, yeah. Oh, no.
These numbers
It's supposed to be 62.
Yes, sir. So just modify your motion accordingly.
Let's say 32 plus 30.
Yes, that's correct.
Schoolhouse Rock. Okay.
I thought I did, I'm sorry. A new motion, I move to modify the original motion to correctly state the number of days as 62 days for the filing period.
And again, I'll second the motion. Keeping everything else that we agreed to in the first vote.
Those
Just-
be days in daylight saving time or regular time? Oh, never mind. Questions, comment, discussion on the motion before us? To clarify the earlier motion? If there's no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The clarifying motion underscoring the 62-day timeframe is approved for R2502. Now, we can move to additional new business.
Next up is an off-premise sign application, project number AS-24-01, located at 2937 Erie Boulevard East rear. This is in the Light Industrial Zone District.
The applicant is here.
Hi, Tom Ornstein. So we're trying to put a billboard where there was a billboard. And I think we put in everything for Mr. Wu wanted us to put in, including the county digitized site plan.
Are you going to own the billboard, Tom?
But on the structure,
Yep. And lease it, I'm assuming.
yeah, I'm leasing it from G. Martino, Tully's.
Okay.
The billboard is an electronic billboard, but I didn't see anything whether or not the message is going to be stable.
No, it's not
It's
electronic.
not going to transition,
No.
right? Okay, so it's static.
Just a regular billboard.
Right, okay, good. And I was just kind of curious, I didn't check out the property today, and I understand where it goes in the corner. There's power lines back there. And haven't been able to tell from the diagrams that we have, the relationship to the power lines, if that's a problem or not. So that was just a question about.
The previous billboard had no problem. Lamar had a billboard right there.
Right.
He took it down, and now I'm gonna put one back up. Same thing.
Okay.
Same height, same everything.
Right, and there's no interference with other billboards in the
No.
area so far as I can tell. But you haven't coordinated yet with DPW and gotten the license, approval from DPW?
From the county?
Yeah, from the state? DOT, I'm sorry, DOT. Department of
Yeah,
Transportation?
once we get approved, then we
Okay.
send it into the state, and the state says you gotta build it
Understood.
30 feet above
Right.
above 690. You can
Sure.
only go 30 feet.
Right, understood. I was just checking to see, because sometimes that conversation starts before we get the application, sometimes later. So you haven't done that yet?
No, but
Okay.
we're pretty sure if you guys like it, they'll like it.
That would be nice if that was always the case.
Yeah, I know, New York State.
Further questions for the applicant?
All set, thank you.
All set, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have the owner here to okay it because he thought I needed a power of attorney. So
Okay.
Dan G. Martino is here to okay it. Do you want to hear from him or?
At the moment, we don't need to. We're going to ask for public comment in a
Oh,
moment.
okay,
And
okay.
if something comes up, or if we think of an additional question, we might ask you to return to help clarify things. So with that presentation, we now ask if there's anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application to come forward to do that. Just provide your name and address and then your comments.
Hi, Dave Martino. I live in Manlius. Do you need my home address there? No.
Business or home?
Okay. Our business address is One Technology Place in East Syracuse. We own the Tullys. That spot where Mr. Hornstein would like to put a sign, there used to be when we acquired the property, there was a lease with Lang Media. He had sold the billboard to Lamar. And Lamar, during COVID, decided to exit the lease, and they took down the pole. So Mr. Hornstein currently has a lease. He's current with rent. We obviously don't object. So I'm in favor.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward to the podium. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? If so, come forward, provide your name, address, and your comments. We don't apparently have any additional speakers on this, so we will close public comment on this and turn to our seeker review as our next step here.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 1 prepared by the applicant and contained in your packet?
Yes.
Yes.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 2, also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project, the proposed action, will have a moderate to large impact under seeker?
No.
Having determined there will be no moderate to large impacts under seeker, we recommend that the commission make a negative declaration and to prepare the Part 3 EAF accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move to make a negative seeker declaration?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the seeker motion now before us. There's no discussion, then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved, and we may now consider the application per se, AS 2401.
I move approval of AS-24-01 as presented with three conditions, and there are no numbers in the three conditions, so I won't make a mistake on the numbers today, but there are three conditions listed on page 107 of the packet related to necessary permits, coordinating with state DOT, et cetera.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on this motion before us for the off-premise sign application. If there's no discussion, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? And this is approved for AS 2401. Thank you very much. Continuing down through our new business items.
Next up is a major site plan review, MA SPR-24-43. This is at 835 Livingston Ave, owner applicant Ben Tupper, represented by John Allen. This is in the R1 zone district. Just to tee this one up, because I believe it's the first one that we've had, the applicant and owner of the property are looking to convert the existing first floor multi-purpose room into a new bedroom. The zoning code now has a ResCom conversion section if you want to add a bedroom as a rental. It has to go through site plan, come before this board, meet certain criteria for an increase in the density and the intensity of use. So I'm pretty sure this is the first one before you for this. So that's what this is.
Okay, thank you. Good intro. Good evening.
My name is John Allen. My address is 374 Hourglass Lane in Baldwinsville, New York. I'm representing Ben Tupper. So what we want to do is convert the multipurpose room to a bedroom. When the house was originally acquired, there was a foreign exchange student that was using that as a bedroom. And periodically, if people wanted a bigger room or something, they've switched from a bedroom down to there or something. And we wanted to make it a legal bedroom. And we would also, in doing so, I believe with the conversion thing, you have to have add common space back if you were taking that.
An offset.
Right. So we would like to add an activity room in the basement, to which Mr. Tupper submitted a plan for. And it's just a 10 by 10 room down in the basement with add an additional full egress window to come out. And that's basically it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Questions for the applicant?
So one of the questions, and we used to look at these under the old
Excuse
code.
me, sir. I'm sorry, I don't hear
Sure.
so well.
So one of the questions about the offset, if you're creating common space in the basement, what is the condition of the basement right now?
The condition right now is an unfinished basement. There is a bathroom that's down there, but it's just unfinished. There's a storage, like closet type thing that's down there. So what we want to do is just take the storage closet part, take that out, finish off that, stud it in, sheetrock it, insulate it, and then, like I said, add the full egress window with a window well to the outside going out.
Have you talked to the staff about the condition, in other words, the basement, how much you have to finish to create the common space? Do you know the rule?
They were telling us a 10 by 10 area would be what we'd need to add. That was a conversation we had with Nate Pan.
Yeah, so the application that we have doesn't have anything in it about construction permits for the basement. So, I mean, it's one of the reasons why we're curious
we're
about that.
asking.
Because an unfinished basement cannot be used as a bedroom or common area or anything. And it's right now, it's unfinished, and there's nothing in the application about finishing that. So that's one of the questions, I think, that.
Right.
Yeah, the only thing that's down there right
Commissioner
now is there's a bathroom down there, that's,
Full bath?
yeah, yep. So that's closed in, like, has a door and everything around it and walls. But, and then the closed-in closet room thing, but.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, so I think we had some other concerns, I have some other concerns about the property. I guess, one thing is, it requires parking spaces for 2 cars.
Yep.
And I don't see anything in the application indicating how that's going to occur. I know there's a driveway there, but, I'm not sure what the parking arrangements are going to be, so I guess that's the
There's a long driveway there. So in I have in here the survey of the land. I don't know if that would help you to see it. If,
Well, I have that too, but there wasn't anything indicating what's going to be the case for parking.
right, there's sufficient parking that's still there. You're saying you have to add additional parking?
Well, you have to indicate where the two cars are going to be able to park, and there's no indication of that. So if you're making the argument that they can park in the existing driveway, then that
Correct.
should be in the application somewhere.
Okay, I didn't
Just
have
a
access to that.
technical
Yep,
issue.
sorry about that. Yeah, there's sufficient parking in the driveway. That's where it would be, so they'd have to add that onto it.
So the other question I have is, I live in the university area, so I'm quite familiar with what happens in that neighborhood with student housing. And so right now, if the application if I understand the application correctly, there are 5 residents that are renting bedroom space in that right now?
No, 4.
Okay, well, the application says at one point that there's 4 bedrooms, but there are 5 people that have been residing there. And so you want to change the 4 bedrooms with 5 residents into 5 bedrooms with 5 residents. So there only be 1 resident in each bedroom? I mean, that's what the application looks like. Is that
Right, they
correct?
want one resident per bedroom. They have had times where they've had somebody additional be in there.
Right. And if I understand correctly, again, the bedrooms are rented individually to students.
No, it's a joint lease.
Okay, because the application doesn't make that clear. I think that's an important issue. Because what can happen if they're being rented individually, then how are you going to regulate or control how many people are in the room? And that's the big issue here.
Correct, it's a joint lease.
So I don't know, the application doesn't indicate that there's only going to be one holder of the rental application. So I think that needs to be in the application. From my view, that should be in the application. The other question is if the desire is to add an additional bedroom, it seems to me that perhaps putting the bedroom in the basement is much better than taking this beautiful common area and turning it into a bedroom. Because what happens in these houses is once that process starts and you take a single family home and you start breaking it up for student housing, you can't go back to a single family home if you want to. So it becomes usable only for student housing in the future. So that's a concern about this type of process.
The only thing that would have to happen to make that room a bedroom is the addition of a closet.
Right, I understand that.
Right,
but it's
they're
a
not-
large common room. It's a beautiful architectural building, and you're turning it into a bedroom. If you're going to make a construction in the basement anyway for a common area, why not make that the bedroom and preserve this fantastic area here?
That's just what Mr. Tupper had wanted to do.
I understand.
You know, when you're
I guess
when
we're
you're on
asking if
there-
you would
right, but-
reconsider that.
I don't think anything's off the table. I mean, we definitely can reconsider anything. You know, I think one of the things to consider is, you know, I know that up around there, there's a negative connotation between landlords and owner-occs. And, you know, obviously we're trying to come before you and do things in the right way and in the right manner. But, you know, if it was a person, if an owner-occ lived there and wanted to convert the room in their house, we may not agree with, you know, we would like that room to stay beautiful like this or whatever, but they would have the freedom to convert the room how they would see. So I would just say that, you know, it's definitely on the table. We could consider those options. You know, we want to just be upfront and transparent in the process with it and just find out that we're doing things in the correct manner. Right. I didn't fill out the application. Mr. Tupper did. I'm speaking on his behalf. But if there are additional things that we can add on there, if there are things that, you know, you would like us to consider, nothing's off the table.
Thank you.
So, John, if I'm you know, we have a new code, rezone, which I'm pretty sure Mr. Tupper's familiar with. That new code requires when we add an additional bedroom to a property, an additional parking space has to be designated to accompany that new sleeping space.
Okay.
So I didn't see the parking plan submitted in the application, and I didn't see the designated spaces which are required by the new code for the new bedroom. which I believe we would need to have indicated somewhere in order to entertain a new sleeping space. The presumption obviously is if somebody's sleeping there, there's a car or the ability for a car to be parked at the property. Additionally, for me, if the option of reconfiguring another space into the common area, I believe has to be a companion application to the reconfiguration of the sleeping space. The law is currently that you have to, if you're going to give up the common space, you have to replace it somewhere else. And I think that those two applications need to ride simultaneously in order for everyone to understand this is the plan. It's going to be this way. And I'm not sure that that is complete here.
Okay.
So that's just for starters,
No, I
some of
appreciate
my
it.
comments.
I appreciate it. Any information you offer is welcome.
Okay.
So,
Additional comments or questions for the applicant?
All set, thank you.
Thank you.
yep.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? If so, come to the...
My name is Jane Hudson. I live at 833, which is right next door to this residence. And I've kind of bonded with the students this year because of the fire last fall that occurred there. But that's not what we're here about tonight. The common space is actually the former dining room, and it has exposed beams, and the kitchen is a galley kitchen, and the breakfast nook is, the breakfast area is pretty small, so they use the dining room. And the proposed common space in the basement is the old coal chute, because I have one too in my basement. And it isn't really a window. I think it was the coal chute that came in. And currently, there's some standing water around the furnace. I've really bonded with these kids. The basement bathroom is not used because there's no shower head, and it's creepy down there. And let's see, the driveway is much narrower than mine, is sunken like 2 feet, and sometimes the kids with the larger cars actually hit the building. This is an arts and crafts home when all the other houses on the street are the colonials, and it's smaller scaled. So one of the 4 bedrooms upstairs only allows a single bed, and the dining room is what they want to convert to another bedroom. And kids have lived in that room before. I know this because I've lived in my house 35 years, and my kids grew up with their kids, and we were all over one another's houses. And we had a short fence then, because good neighbors talk over the fence. So I just think it is what it is. It's an eating common space there, and as John said, there is no closet, but the driveway is barely workable now with 4 cars. I can't imagine, and the garage door doesn't work, and so they rarely park all the way into the drive, because you'd have to shift 5 cars to get the first one out. So maybe this really should just rent to 4 students. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward to do so. I don't see anyone else wishing to speak. We typically offer the applicant an opportunity to address comments in opposition to an application. So, Mr. Allen, you have that opportunity now.
So the water in the basement is a condensate pump that's being ordered to be replaced on the furnace. It's not anything leaking from the foundation or anything like that. So not a problem with the structure or anything, just a normal maintenance thing that happens. And as far as whether or not they elect to use the bathroom downstairs, it had a shower head. They take it off. You know, somebody rents it, whatever they use their space for. It's not up to me to police them. I'm not their parents in that regard. The property that is on there, the driveway is still just slightly over 10 feet wide. So along where it meets the house, and you can see that on the survey. So for the width of the driveway, you know, I haven't had a tenant tell me they've hit the house and I haven't seen the damage of it hitting on the house. But that would certainly be frustrating. But, you know, that's that part. And as far as the in-kitchen dining area that we have marked on the thing, it has a full-size dining room table with 6 chairs around it. So I don't know what anybody else has in their house, but you know, a table with 6 chairs around it that you can walk around is still a spacious place to eat. The area is a common room. Could somebody use it as a dining room? Sure. Could they use it as a living room? Absolutely. Could it be a family room? Yep. Could be an office. Could be a variety of things. You know, we're just asking that it be a bedroom. And try and follow along with any legal process to make it so.
Okay, thank you. So we'll close public comment on this. And turn to our seeker review before must turn to our seeker review before we consider action.
Sure.
Before we do the seeker review, I guess I have a procedural question, if we could clarify. Because at this juncture, I'm inclined to deny the application for many of the reasons that were addressed. I'm wondering, there's 2 options, I think, at this point. And I don't know whether you would do these before seeker or not, but we could hold the application and ask the Mr. Tupper to address the issues that have been raised and consider it at the next future meeting, or we could proceed with seeker and then see what the motion is. I'm not sure what my colleagues are thinking in terms of the motion.
There have been concerns raised, and if the commission is inclined to not be supportive, I agree that holding it would make sense, offering the applicant an opportunity to address some of these concerns raised this evening and return with perhaps an amended application, at which time we could then do our seeker review and proceed to full action.
Right. I'd also be inclined to hold on. I was asking before about the conversation with staff. Maybe that might still be a good idea before we meet again.
Yeah, the application is actually presently insufficient as it is. So you have the option to hold it or deny it, but it cannot be approved this way, primarily because of there are other reasons, but the driveway, the code requires a designated additional parking space for each bedroom. So it also requires living room, dining area, and kitchen. Ostensibly, it has that, but the minimum 100 square feet per additional room is not allowed in the basement.
Not allowed in the basement?
No.
Okay, that's an
Not
important
allowed in the
point.
basement. But the basement, if it's finished, it can be.
Yeah, so I think what council's saying is,
Right.
it's not, the basement's not lawfully or legally recognized yet.
Right.
Which makes it, I mean, I would say even it would have to be reviewed, the plan review would have to be reviewed, it'd have to be issued a permit and inspected, and the basement area would have to be given a certificate of occupancy. That'd be really the only sufficient proof to give this board that they had the additional
space.
common area space to even seek this,
Offset.
but
Right. It has to be built out first, is what.
Right.
Jake is saying.
So it seems like, as we suggested in the questioning, the application is insufficient. If we were to vote tonight, we would have to vote on seeker and deny the application, but if we hold it, it seems to be a better path forward, because then Mr. Tupper can speak with staff about a path forward.
Seems reasonable, given the circumstances with this application, so we will hold this. You've heard some of the concerns addressed. We're hoping that you can have a conversation with the owner and perhaps make adjustments or consult with the zoning office as well if there's further clarification needed in terms of what the new code requires, and then making an amended application that could come back before this body.
Can you come up here for a second, John? Sorry.
So, part of the problem I had with even doing this and getting to this point was we started talking with Nate Pan, and then we got passed around to about 4 different people, and everybody kind of threw out some different tidbits, but everyone said it's not really their area. Who is the best person to approach with that?
We'll answer that. If I could just ask you something before that, I'm sorry.
Sure.
If it's okay. I just would like to ask the board to consider, and you to consider, withdrawing this insufficient application at this time, working with our team, and Jake
Someone to be
can
identified.
designate who would be your best person through, or we'll designate Jake, one or the other.
He'll come up with a name.
And perfect the application to a point where it can be reconsidered.
Absolutely.
By the planning commission.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Jake, I'll turn it over to you as to how you want John or who,
yeah.
and we're going to withdraw that. The applicant's withdrawing that.
And Jake, do you want to know who the 3 people were that I've talked with? Like-
Yeah, you can send that to me offline after the meeting, but
All
you
right, fair
reach
enough.
out to me, okay?
Yes. Yep. Perfect. Was there anything else you needed from me up
No,
here?
I'm good. Are we good?
So we'll consider this, that you have withdrawn this to make further
Amendments.
improvements
Yeah.
after consulting with the office, and then returning at a subsequent meeting when you're ready to come back. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Have a good night.
Our next new business item,
Next up is a special use permit, SP-24-31 at 1205-09 South Geddes Street. This is in the MX2 zone district.
Good evening.
leading.
Amin Asabahi, 1601 Bellevue.
Can you give us a little summary of your application and what you're looking to do with this location?
Basically, I own the building, 1207 South Geddes. It's been currently run as a store since 2010. I've been informed through zoning that I had to apply for a special use permit to continue.
And that's what brings you here tonight, right?
Yes.
The change in the code, in the zoning ordinance. Questions for the applicant?
It looks like an interesting project, and I know this is a legal non-conforming structure, so we have problems with the building that are non-conforming but legal because they existed before rezone. I guess the one main question I have is I don't see anything on your parking map on page 240 about bike racks.
Commissioner, before you go forward, I just want to correct the record. It is not a legal non-conforming structure. The burden is on the applicant to demonstrate that a structure is legally non-conforming, and that demonstration it requires to prove that it was legally established in the first place. Had they even done that, the more complicated issue is that they operated illegally for a period of 5 years, and that destroyed their non-conforming status.
Okay, because in reading our packet, we have references in the packet to it as a legal non-conforming structure. So that's okay if that's the case.
May I speak? My certificate of use expired in 2019 during COVID. So there is a pause with that 5 year with me not applying due to COVID. As soon as COVID disappeared, I got the tenants out, kicked out. I applied for a certificate of use. It was denied based off taxes. I owed delinquent taxes. In the past year, I've paid over $40,000 in taxes, and it should be in the systems. So my business was legally obtained through zoning in 2010. That's how I established a certificate of use from 2010 all the way up to 2019. 2019, COVID happened. 2-3 years, we took a hit, no rent, no anything. I couldn't follow up on my tenants to apply for the right certificates when COVID was over. Because during, 19 and 20, we couldn't apply for no certificate of use. There was no contact. Businesses was closed. So when I was able to get back into the system, it took me a year just to clear the taxes that I owed, the delinquent taxes. I stayed from 2019 to 2021 with no rent. 3 apartments, store downstairs, not a dime for 2 years. So it was a lot of hardship going through all this. So when I applied for the certificate of use, they denied, zoning denied me and told me I had to apply for the special use permit.
No, for the store previously.
Were you the previous owner, operator of the store from 10 to 19?
Yes.
And who's the operator now?
Right now,
You're the operator, okay.
he's here.
Further questions for the applicant?
The same issue has been reoccurring since I applied for the certificate of use.
Right.
I've presented inventory, my orders, to establish legal nonconformist. They have observed it, and still, it's a hassle. I came with my attorney today, trying to prove a basis of legal nonconformant. It didn't go as well. He told me to leave. I'm tired of the back and forth. I have a tenant that wants to conduct business. I want to get my rent, so I'm here.
So one question I guess I have, or something that you can tell the board and everybody.
Yes.
As the owner, can you just speak to how you, expect to, have some oversight over the tenant? Because my understanding is your previous tenant here under you as the owner, there were a lot of issues.
There was an issue with the tenant prior to him, which lasted about, I say, 3 months. They had sold, I guess, K2. And with the agreement with me and the city, with the law department. I evicted them 30-day notice. And the new tenant was in. So I'm not here to play games. What I would want is for the city and the landlords to have a better communication than to get lawsuits and involve the landlords in stuff that, you know, I'm a landlord, so I'm not getting paid to police. So if I get notified something going wrong in my business, outside my business, I'm here to fix it. Just like I proved it. Last tenant got kicked out, which, what was his name? I don't even remember. That's how short of a period he was in the building. Not even 3 months. But as soon as I got the lawsuit, he was evicted. My attorney was Dan Mavic law firm. So he got evicted. I don't have all my paperwork in front of me, but I would give you the exact dates, and it should be on the system when he got evicted.
Additional questions?
I guess a question for staff. Since there's references to the SEPTED report, has that been discussed with the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. And he's seen a copy of the SEPTED report? It's in there.
There were, I think, responses from the applicant on each of the points from the SEPTED report, and I think in most cases, generally agreeing to them. I think there was one about the trash receptacle, perhaps in the driveway, was maybe problematic for the applicant, but I think most of the others were.
I agreed to all of them. If you would bring the where the dumpster is, the picture, I could explain better on like spring, summertime, what I would like to do. I would like to build a fence right there to kind of contain dumpster. And the parking lots would be right there. The space is, I think, less than 1,000 feet. So zoning-wise, code-wise, I don't need parking spaces. But it's a plus for my business. But in the springtime, I'm putting right here. This part is here. I'm putting billards. I think that's how you say it. And I'm building a fence. Like if you go to Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
They have that. And for my tenants in the back.
The space behind the dumpster, if I read correctly, is your upstairs tenant spaces, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, because I want to split it. The
Right.
dumpster to the front
Is the
is
business.
commercial.
Right.
Yes.
And we're going to do what we call a dumpster enclosure
Yes.
fence
Yes.
in the spring.
Yes.
Okay?
If it wasn't so bad, when I got the report, I'd have probably did it.
Yeah.
Even if it's cold, but it's.
And the hours of operation we have from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., is that correct?
Correct.
Are there additional questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Please give your name and address and then your comments in favor.
Hi, my name is Adam Jackson. I live at 970 Bellevue Ave. I'm a single father of 3 girls. My middle daughter is autistic, and it's a pleasure going to his store because his store is one of the only stores that don't have people hanging around it. He keeps it clean, and my girls are comfortable going into his store, and they don't like going into any other store. just because of the people hanging out and the people hanging out begging for money or the drug addicts being around. He keeps it pretty clean around there, and he keeps all that mess away from there, so it's comfortable for all the children in the area and stuff to go there. And he definitely treats everybody like family, so he does make it a comfortable environment for everybody to go there. And I just wanted to state that, so that way, you know, like I said, that's the only store my daughters will go to. And I don't have a car, so everything is just walkable, so it's definitely a blessing having a store like that in the area.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted that to be stated.
They're adorable.
Thank you.
Are there other individuals who wish to speak in favor of the application? Please come forward. Careful.
Thomas Balbuena, 204 Markland Ave. Like he said, I've been in his store, and I've known this gentleman for 7 years since I've lived up there in Markland. He has done so much for me, helped me out. When I needed something to eat, I just went to see him at the store, and he handed it out. But I did pay him for it. But he is someone that helps people out. The community loves him. People in the neighborhood love him. Like you said, it's a clean establishment. Nobody there to bother you. That's what I love. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other individuals who wish to speak in favor? Please come forward.
Juanita Hooker, 433 Elliott Street. When this store opened, it is a good asset to the neighborhood because, like, a lot of us don't drive, and I'm an old lady, and I have arthritis and stuff, and it's convenient to walk there. And like he said, there's not any riffraff hanging outside like all the other stores, and all the other stores around there are closed now, so there's really no place to go. And it is very nice. He's very nice, and helps out the neighborhood. It's
Thank
an
you.
asset.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Juan Sereno, 1207 South Geddes. I live above the store. For me, the store is the most important thing on that on South Geddes. That store, to me, it like for me, it's beneficial because my kids don't go anywhere else. My kids can go there. I can literally send my kids up, literally right outside to try to go to the store because there's nobody who hangs out there. Literally, I feel safe that my kids is able to go somewhere that I could just be like, all right, go ahead, and not worry about something happening to my kids. So I think that the store should stay open. Thank you.
Thank you. Other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application, please come forward. Is there any? We'll acknowledge that they are likely in favor of this based on what you commented earlier. Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. We have no additional speakers that I can see, so we will close the public comment on this and turn to my colleagues to ask for an indication of action on this before we consider our seeker review. Is there any information that's missing that's needed for evaluating this application in its entirety? Or are we in a position to first take our, consider our seeker review for this application?
I guess if I could ask staff and council, and I apologize, but the SEP 10 information was there. I'm thinking back and forth between what the tenants may have done and what the owner has done. If it's the same owner through the years. If this is not legal non-conforming. The issue is whether they can prove the use is appropriate.
Yes, I was just
Okay.
going to clarify that
Right.
it doesn't really matter if it's legal nonconforming or that was, that bubble was burst, because they're here now to establish a legal use that will run with the land as a convenience store at this location. So none of the history is relevant from that perspective. All that's really on the table before you that's relevant is the impacts which you would normally assess for a special use permit.
Yeah, and I should add my apology to Commissioner Byer's apology, because the mistake was my reference initially, reading from the wrong place in my notes about legally non-conforming term. So I add my apologies to yours in creating that confusion.
We're on the same
I'm
page,
sorry,
which
what
is a
was-
dangerous place to be.
I didn't understand what y'all just said.
Yeah, it was just a mistake on my part initially. It's not an issue to consider here.
With what? I'm just lost. I was trying to listen to what you were saying, but I couldn't.
What he's saying is that he originally stated that this was a legal non-conforming use, which is not correct and not relevant, really, to our decision tonight. Our decision tonight is whether or not you qualify for a special use permit as a, what do we call it now? Food and beverage, right?
Retail.
Still don't know the new code as well as I should. Food and beverage store, and if the neighborhood and the neighbors, it is a compatible use. I would just also say one additional comment that I have, which is, as the owner of the property, you are just as responsible, if not more responsible, by the city and the law to account to the conditions of the property and the business. Even though I understand you're not running the business, you've leased the business to someone else. It is ultimately your permit, your property, and your responsibility to comply or not comply, or the inspection that will occur is based on the owner. Therefore, your tenant is your responsibility.
Of course, and
Okay.
I feel like I did my part as a landlord when there was a violation or when something came to me, I took care of it.
Great.
So
I'm not criticizing, to be clear. I just want to state going forward. I know sometimes that there's confusion, that some landlords have told us that they believe the operator should be responsible for everything. And that's not the case under the law.
no, no.
Yeah.
But I do want you to consider that it was a store. You know, for you to deny me of something, you know, you're saying it's not important to if it's a legal non-conformant or not, but it is. With the new laws that's coming out, a lot of non-conformities you can't open up these days anymore. So for a business to get taken from my building, you know, the whole point of the building is for the business. That's where I make my money. So taking the business away from the building, my building is not even going to be worth what it's worth at the time being right now. It's gonna my value is going to depreciate. So it does play a big part if I'm a legal non-conformant or not.
I understand.
You know, I'm not here to open a new business. I'm not opening it new. So I want that to be into consideration too. In my track, I ran it from me and my partner, which is my partner in the building too, Monif Abderrab. We ran it from 2010 all the way to 2019. Not one violation in the records show. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think we've closed public comment. Smiles are welcome. So we will turn to our seeker
Well,
review.
I do have one question for clarification before,
Certainly.
I guess primarily for staff. On page 173, we have 9 conditions that are listed. Condition 4 states that customers or businesses shall not park on the public right-of-way at the front and the side of the building in any circumstance. But in the SEPTED report on page 89, we have a recommendation which the applicant accepted for parking of 2 cars on the side of the building. So I'm just wondering about those 2 statements, if I'm misunderstanding something or...
The side parking for tenants?
So I
Not for
think what this is
customers?
referencing is cars that would just pull up on the side of the building and in front of the building, but be in the right of way.
And the applicants agreed to install bollards to
Yeah,
prevent that. And
Right away on the side of the building would refer to...
So
What?
so imagine you park right in front of the structure, I park in front of the driveway.
Right.
But we're both sticking out into the right of way. You're in front of the building, I'm on the side of the building.
I see, okay. So, but parking is permitted on the side of the building further back, as the SEPTED report indicates. 2 cars could park there.
Yeah, I think they're saying that 2 cars can fit on,
Right.
on private property. I think what condition
Okay.
4 is really trying to say is that there shall not be any parking on public right of way in the front, directly in front of the structure, but also on the side.
Understood. Thank you for clarification.
While you're mentioning that, one recommendation to add to, and the owner seemed to have already agreed to this, is that we add the condition of the dumpster enclosure and screening to that. And then just one recommendation, since, there has been a history with the previous tenant, I realize this owner, got him out of there. One recommendation is maybe just mentioning or adding a condition that the owner agrees to following the Property Conservation Code's owner responsibility section, which kind of spells out that he is responsible for following all state, local, and federal laws, ordinances, etc. So if we have anything in the future, the owner's agreed to follow that and deal with it appropriately.
So that would be 11 conditions, adding the dumpster and the reference to the Property Conservation Code.
Yep.
Thanks for those suggestions, which I think we'll be dealing with in just a moment. But first, we will turn our attention to our seeker review.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 1 prepared by the applicant and contained in your packet?
Yes.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 2, also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe the proposed action will have a moderate to large impact under seeker?
No.
No.
Having determined there will be no moderate to large impacts, we recommend that the commission make a negative declaration under seeker and to prepare the Part 3 EAF accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move making a negative seeker declaration.
Second.
Discussion on our seeker motion. There's no discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved, and we may now consider action on the special use permit itself, SP 2431.
I move approval of SP-24-31 with a recommendation for affirmative action by the Common Council, and add beyond general conditions, 11 special conditions, 9 special conditions listed on pages 172 and 173 of the packet. In addition to those 9 special conditions, we add 1 condition for a dumpster enclosure and an additional condition to agree to for the landlord to follow the Property Conservation Code.
Second.
Thank you. And I think kind of included by reference are the CTEP recommendations as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there discussion now in the motion before us for the special use permit? If there's no discussion, then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Special use permit for SP 2431 is approved. We continue on with additional new business.
Next up, one more special use permit, SP-25-06, located at 303 Pulaski Street. Owner Salt City LLC, applicant Len Montreal. This is an MX3 zone district.
Good evening.
Good evening. Name's Frank Cusimano from Min Architects. Here representing Salt City Enterprises LLC for the project at 301 Pulaski Street. The project is for a change of use from Union Hall to a fitness center. I believe representation is here. Basically, we're looking to change of use. We're meeting requirements, as you can see there in the site plan. I've laid out some parking spaces, enough parking spaces. It's 1 per 500 square feet. The building is currently 8,755 square feet. We're in the MX3 district. So currently we need 18 spaces with that square footage, which we show there on the plan. The building is currently non-sprinklered, and we are meeting that allowable. We're allowed 12,000 square feet for a non-sprinkler building, which we're meeting. We're being compliant with accessibility. There's 2 different levels there. There's workout room and training room on both levels with ADA compliant bathroom. And then also the building currently has a new programmable fire alarm system that they just installed as well. And we meet all the egress exit requirements also per code.
This is a 24-hour facility?
What's your hours? Yes.
4 hours. Questions for the applicant?
Staff 24 hours, or I have a fob? Yeah, okay. Great.
Further questions for the applicant?
Yeah, could you go back to the page 240, the parking lot diagram? I'm not seeing anything for bike racks.
Parking
And there's a requirement for, I believe it's 1 to 6 bike racks per car parking spaces?
Yeah, I do not show that on the plan. That could easily be added.
I'm not sure, what are the numbered triangles? What are they all representing?
The photos.
Excuse me?
The photos on the other pages.
I see, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what that was.
Additional questions? Okay, thank you. Are there individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and your comments.
It's Wyatt Lozano, the owner of the LLC, Strength Warehouse 315 LLC, the gym. I want to say the gym is a positive part of any community. People find inspiration there, people find motivation there, people change their lives there. I also want to say the way this kind of started off was awfully bizarre. We had a guy named Terry Medor in our parking lot taking pictures, driving by. It was just very weird. And now we're here, and I'm glad we're moving forward, and thank you for having us, and thank you for letting us speak.
Absolutely. Are there other individuals who want to speak in favor of the application? If so, come forward. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium. Provide your name, address, and comments. We don't appear to have any additional speak. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. We don't have any additional speakers, so we'll close the public comment on this. We'll turn to our seeker review to take care of that first, and then we'll proceed beyond that.
Has everyone had a chance to review the EAF Part 1 prepared by the applicant and contained in your packet?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the questions in the EAF Part 2 also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe the proposed action will have a moderate to large impact under seeker?
No.
Having determined that there will be no moderate to large impacts, we recommend that the commission make a negative declaration under seeker and prepare the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
Move to make a negative seeker declaration?
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on this seeker motion? If there's no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved, and we may now move to the special use permit itself, SP 2506. Is there a motion on that?
I move approval of SP-25-06 as presented and beyond, with an affirmative recommendation to the Common Council for approval. And beyond that, general conditions, I add 6 special conditions as listed on page 225 of the packet, plus 1 additional condition, making it 7 conditions. The additional condition is for a bike rack, at least 3 bike racks.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion before us, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The special use permits approved for SP 2506. Sir, you asked about next steps. So we completed our work, but we're not the final authority on this. So we just advanced this to the city council. They're the final authority. We recommended that they approve it, and it'll be up to them, presumably at their next meeting, if not the meeting after that, when it gets. Oh, no, you're allowed to be there.
You're not
definitely allowed
generally
to be there.
informed. You're allowed to be there, but it's important to note that you're not permitted to speak during Common Council study sessions unless you arrange ahead of time with a counselor who is in charge of that particular portfolio to get permission to speak. But normally, you don't have permission to speak at Common Council meetings. I know some folks show up thinking like this, you can speak, but you can't.
Thank you. I think that completes our new business, but not our entire business. Yes.
Next up is our last item tonight. It's a 3-mile limit in the town of Clay, 3S-25-02 on Buckley Road. City Engineering Department and our city engineer has approved and reviewed this application.
Thank you. Is there a motion then on the 3-mile limit case in Clay?
Move approval of the 3-mile limit, 3S-2502.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on this motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? 3S-2502 is approved. If there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. We're adjourned until
March 24th.
24th. Okay, we'll be on daylight saving time then.
Yes.
Yeah, this weekend we move.
March 9th, we switch over.